And political strategist Mehek Cook. No one better to talk to when it comes to absolutely anything, especially the crazy things that are going on in the country and right here in our own state. Mehek, thanks for joining us again.
Hi, Mindy. Hi, Booth.
Hi, I'm Corn Pop. I'm Corn Pop today.
Oh, Corn Pop.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Mindy
that
didn't.
memo.
Mindy didn't know that. Mindy didn't know that story. She's like, she watched the video. She about fell off her chair.
Yeah, sometimes, Mehek, I try to remove myself from watching too much because you'll go crazy. You know, this world that we live in, if you just, if you can literally go insane if that's all you do is watch news story after news story, or, sometimes you just got to walk away from things. But Mehek, you sent us a really interesting piece of information that we need to talk about. And you sent two different articles. One says suspect wanted for shooting at two Cleveland police officers misses a court date, and another man out on bond charged with East Columbus murder. So you wanted to come on the show today and talk about prison reform, things that are going on in the political system right now and things that have to change.
Yes. Mindy, I think that the issue that most of us believe is when we say criminal justice reform or bail reform, that automatically to many conservatives means weakening the criminal system. And it's honestly the exact opposite. Law enforcement, Constitution, all those institutions are extremely important to me. I've always been a fierce defender of our freedom, liberty, and also commanding our own lives. That belief goes, as I've been on your show before, from vaccines to our businesses, kids, schools, and now to courts. You know that we've had one of the most violent years in 2021, and there's a lot of debate about what the right thing to do is. But I'll tell you, most Ohioans absolutely believe we need a blind justice system, that we have a justice system that treats everybody fairly, regardless of skin color and regardless of the amount of money they have.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. And I talked to a lot of officers, and I'm not going to identify which ones I had this discussion with, but they're like, we're not even trying anymore. Unless there's a murder or a rape or something over the top, we don't want to go to certain areas because we'll lose our family, we'll lose our house, we'll lose our career because the bad guys are always right now. What are we going to do?
Well, you're absolutely right. And I think in addition to what law enforcement is facing today, we also have a crisis in our courts. The case today is that public safety is being threatened on all levels in all states. And our justice system's dependency, and I want to say over-dependency on cash bail, that's a focus on wealth rather than nature of crime, is the reason that our crime rates are surging. And those articles that I sent you, whether it's Cleveland, Columbus, most people are starting to wonder why individuals are being released on cash bail when there are severe violent offenders out there. And I think the two examples I always go to, because most people are like, well, that means you're weakening our criminal system. Look at Waukesha and what happened there in Wisconsin. You had a deadly vehicle attack, basically a lunatic behind the wheel, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Shouldn't have been free in the first place. Released on $1,000 after attempting to kill the mother of his child. Everybody thinks, well, cash bail was the problem, that's too low. But then just a month ago in Columbus, you have a 20-year-old named Avante Saunders. He shot and killed a man. Affidavits, both from police officers and detectives. Bail was set at $150,000, and he has yet to make the court appearance.
So wait. Well, how about the judge that let that go on? That's where I lose my mind. How did he get out so easy? Shouldn't that judge be held accountable, or where's the system there? Because it's not the bad guy's fault at that point. Heck, if I go out and shoot someone and rob a place and they go,
and you're out free, you're going to say,
I'm
no,
going to go rob next week again.
That's not right. Let me go behind bars. Right,
yeah.
Exactly.
So what about the judge?
Well, I think there's a lot of issues here. It's the judge, it's the judicial system, it's the prosecutors, it's the public defenders. And I think if we actually focus rather than on cash bail, and making defendants pay for their freedom, and focus on what is the crime, and never allowing somebody like this to walk out if you know that they have allegedly shot, whether it's two Columbus police officers or any individual.
I don't understand.
So talk about the other one. How can somebody who is a suspect of shooting at two police officers doesn't even show up for court? That's not right.
Well, it's because our system today is tied to cash bail. If somebody can afford bail, so again, it's based on wealth, they have the opportunity to post bail and then leave. So we're actually increasing crimes. It's not a deterrent for public safety when we think about cash bail. And now think about the low-level offender, somebody who is smoking marijuana in his car, gets pulled over. Now he's sitting in jail because he cannot afford
Right.
the bond.
Good point.
He's now not getting to work. He's not taking care of his kids. He's not able to collect his paycheck. Now taxpayers are paying for that individual rather than the individual that's scot-free
Yeah.
for a violent offense.
I think of violent, whether it's like I said earlier, rape, murder, and then one of my liberal friends was arguing with me and said, "Well, you just can't pick and choose who you're." I'm like, "Yeah, I can. If you hurt a child, or you hurt animals, or you hurt, if it's extreme where you could take it on to another human being or another mammal, then yeah, you should be locked up. If you're smoking weed in your car and you're going 90 and a 65 at the time, I mean, yeah, that's stupid. But if we're going to weigh out the crimes, let's use some common sense."
Well, and I think that's what's missing today. When you just make it solely focused on cash bail, then common sense is out of the window. It's who can afford bail and who can leave versus low-income individuals that are stuck behind bars until they have their day in court. And what we have today in Ohio is pending legislation in both the House and the Senate. And I think what's really important is, first, we have to push courts to make a decision on release no later than 24 hours after an individual has been accused.
Okay.
If they do not pose a specific threat, then they should be released. The second part of this is...
Hey,
if there is a specific-
Mahek, we got to go to break, but can you hang on
Okay.
and explain what that
Absolutely.
second part of it
Yeah,
is? Because
we
we have some other questions for you, too.
Okay. This is Raw with Minnie and Boots on News Radio 610 WTVN. We're getting raw with corn pop, Mindy.
I don't know how many shirts you have, but I'm going to say at least 50. At
Oh,
least.
I got
that
car
say
shirts
different
full.
things. No, I'm saying that you
Yeah.
purposely purchase because
Did
you
you
want
see
to
my
send
Clinton
a
one
message.
that says, "I swear, just for the record, I have nothing on the Clintons, just to be safe." I like that one.
No, that's
and
funny.
I walk through the grocery store with my chest out so people get offended with my "Let's Go Brandon."
Because you
face.
like to offend people.
like to
Mehek
mess
Cook
with you.
is on the line with us.
I don't wanna
And
offend her,
Mehek,
though.
we're talking about criminal reform in the criminal system, in the prisons, things that are going wrong in the state of Ohio. And you were talking about how to make it right again. And you were getting to your second point.
Yes, so I was sharing with you that there's pending legislation in the legislature that first would just require courts to make a release decision no longer than 24 hours. So if somebody's really being held on a misdemeanor, they can be released and go to their families and show up for court. But most importantly, if there is a specific individual that poses a specific threat, then that individual would get a hearing within 48 to 72 hours. So the process here just absolutely eliminates the use of cash bail. I think what we're doing today is not focusing on factors that actually require courts, or at least courts should determine an individual as whether a risk to public safety, they are violent criminals, or the crime at hand. All courts today are doing is looking at an individual's bank account and letting them go. And that's not what's helping our public safety and keeping our communities safe. There needs to be a metrics and a nonviolent versus violent offenders, and for courts to really determine what's fair.
Because chances are they're going to get back out and become repeat offenders.
Yeah.
They're
I'd
going to get
almost-
back out and cause more harm for people.
I'd almost bet you guys, you gals, that if this guy comes in and he has priors where he's a drug dealer and he's been arrested 3 pages long of police reports, that he's going to be able to post bail no matter what it is. Not, and you were saying, I want people at home to understand what we're saying. People with cash, they're able to bail themselves out. It may not mean they're a Dublin or Upper Arlington person. They could be a Parsons Avenue person that was a previous drug dealer. You know what I mean? So they have a wad of cash and they can get right out. And usually that scares me more than the Dublin guy that on his 3rd DUI or whatever.
Well, yeah, you're differentiating between a felony and somebody who's committed a misdemeanor. So I don't care where this individual lives. It shouldn't be based on wealth or status.
Okay.
It should absolutely be based on the crime at hand. And if it's nonviolent and somebody's vouching for them in the community, they've never committed a crime in the past, let this individual go. But the ones that are sitting there and there's a murder at hand, they're repeat offenders, they have community members that are scared, like all those are determining factors where a judge should absolutely keep this individual in jail. And today the reality is every time we talk about reform as a conservative, you're immediately looked at as too soft on crime. I've worked at the attorney's office on counterterrorism cases. I know what it's like to be tough on crime, but I also believe that there's fairness and justice when it comes to our court system, and we have to achieve that here in Ohio, or we're going to continue to be threatened in our communities.
We're talking to attorney and Republican strategist Mehek Cook. Mehek, the one question I have for you, too. So what do you think as an attorney about the individuals from January 6th, the insurrection, who have had no priors and they're still sitting in jail today?
Well, I don't think that there's absolutely clear evidence in terms of whether the FBI was involved in the insurrection. I don't think the public really knows what's going on today. There's a lot of shady things that have happened in Washington. So again, if you have justice reform, we would see a day in court at least within 24 hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or at least 72 in Ohio, because if it is a violent offense, then at least the public's able to see why this individual is being detained. I absolutely disagree with holding somebody in court past what at least Ohio is proposing right now is 72 hours. We need our day in court. It's only fair. So for the individuals that are being held on January 6th, they absolutely need transparency in a day in court.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know. That one gets to me. But then I think about cover-ups that we do all the time. Like, remember the Las Vegas shooting at the country concert? Was the government involved? And I'm not a conspiracy guy most of the time, but anymore I'm starting to get caught up in it because here's a guy that shot how many people and all at once? It's just gone. You don't hear another word about it. Have you heard another word about it? I haven't.
So my friend was actually there, I was going to say, and said there was bullets coming different ways. That's the only reason it makes me not think there was a one shooter. He was there and said just the description that he said. It does make me wonder, like you said.
Okay. What do you think about that, though?
But that's the media not reporting exactly what happened and continuing to follow up on justice, right?
Okay, right.
I think the easiest example is you and I know a member of Congress that is getting pulled over for a DUI is very different from somebody in the east side of Columbus.
Sure.
That member of Congress is not only able to post bail, but get out on personal recognizance, whereas you have somebody from Columbus who's sitting in jail for days, unable to get back to their family, unable to get back to their job. I mean, this is where there's a disparity. Government continues to win in these situations when individuals, small business owners, and just people like you and me that may not be able to afford their bail are sitting in jail. So while I don't want to go down the conspiracy theory route, here's just an easy example of congressional members versus the rest of us. There's a huge disparity in how people are treated there.